Hey, what is going on, guys? This is the SS Ultimate Goku back with another video. And today I want to talk about the future. I want to talk about the future of Ruby. Um, I haven't really gotten an in-depth video yet on this topic and this discussion. And there's probably going to be a couple more different videos coming up about specific things to kind of get up to date on some of the stuff that's going on for other franchises. But I wanted to cover Ruby because I haven't really dived deep into this. I mean, we talked about briefly the announcement of Ruby being acquired by Viz Media about a year ago, I think it was, when the announcement happened. Um, but really, overall, since Viz Media has acquired Ruby, there really hasn't been that much going on. And I'm sure there's a lot more going on behind the scenes. But in the open, we've seen announcements recently for the re-releases of some of the older volumes, which, if you got the original ones from Rooster Teeth that were released years ago, I do have some of the old Blu-ray DVD sets. I got them pretty cheap back in the day. Um, you know, because back in those days, I think the reason why they were selling them so cheap were because, they were widely available online. For example, obviously the seasons were originally on YouTube for free. They were also still free on their website, which their website's now shut down because Rooster Teeth is shut down. Well, supposedly now I guess it's back now, but it was shut down for a while, and obviously they don't own Ruby anymore, so that's relevant to this point. Um, but So yeah, I mean, so far they've made the announcement that they are re-releasing the older volumes. I don't really think it's worth getting them if you've already had some of the older stuff, and I'm sure a lot of the old Rooster Teeth DVD Blu-rays are still online, very easily available on, if you go on eBay for resells and stuff like that. So you know, the Viz Media ones, I haven't really seen or heard if there's really any reason to get those. Um, Now, of course, I'm not going to say DVD and Blu-rays are important these days because a lot of people seem to be okay with just watching this stuff on the streams. I believe Ruby's, all their volumes are available on Crunchyroll. And I'm sure they're available on other platforms as well. So at this point, it's really just a choice at this point. Me personally, if a DVD and a Blu-ray is important, I will buy it because, for any franchise for that matter, because nothing is more important than having the authentic cut of any franchise, which streams do not have that. Regardless of what anybody tells you, that is not true. I'm actually considering to start looking for WWE DVDs again because, it seems like the Vault is going away. Peacock is, once they lose their contract, it seems like all those matches are going to be gone, all those cards are going to be gone, and obviously the DVD and Blu-rays for WWE stopped in 2022, or 2023, sorry, officially. So DVDs and Blu-rays are important, especially in physical media, and I'm very surprised that it's still being done. Thankfully, in the anime community, it seems like Crunchyroll and Viz Media and other anime studio distributors are still releasing Blu-rays and DVDs, and I'm very happy about that because they're not doing that in WWE anymore. Um, as evidence of them re-releasing the RWBY stuff. Um, so again, I don't know if they're worth it based on if you've already gotten the older ones. I don't know if Viz is adding anything new to them that are, different, but, otherwise, unless you haven't bought them yet, um, it's very, very important to get them because, again, it's very important to get DVDs and Blu-rays, especially if there is something different than you would get on the streaming services. Like example, Dragon Ball Z. If you want the Falconer score, you gotta get the home media releases because those are they've never made them available on streaming service. Basically, they've never made the Falconer score cut available on streaming services. They only are available on home media releases of Dragon Ball Z. I don't know if there's any instance of that situation for other specific animes, but it's very important if you're a DBZ fan, obviously. So that's kind of where, home media is important. So I am, for whatever it's worth, that RWBY is being re-released by Viz Media. For anybody else that still is interested in getting it, if they haven't gotten the original Rooster Teeth releases. So there's that. But the topic of this video is obviously about what they're actually going to do with the franchise, besides just re-releasing the previous volumes on DVD and Blu-ray. What are they going to do? What exactly is the situation? Now, I have seen some of the voice actors, like, doing some little stuffs on social media where they've done some questionnaires and stuff like that. I don't exactly know what studio they're doing that at because I don't know. I don't exactly know what Viz's studio is because Viz doesn't really, I think, have a studio. I mean, they usually outsource their anime voiceover stuff to other studios in California. Like, they're not like Crunchyroll Funimation that, like, has their own in-house studio for voice acting. So I don't exactly know what where they're doing that exactly at. Viz Media is known more for mangas than they are. Believe it or not, I know a lot of people think Viz Media is is an anime studio dubbing thing. They're not. They license the animes out, but they outsource it to other, dubbing studios to do the dubs for them. Their biggest Viz Media's biggest money grab is actually licensing mangas, Japanese mangas, and basically translating them into English. That's that's their biggest money thing. It's not like they don't do anime dubs. I'm not saying they don't make a lot of money from that. But that's where their biggest cash cows comes from, is doing the mangas, the manga translations. So that's where this issue comes into play here. Now, I know in the past, before Viz Media owned RWBY, they actually worked with Rooster Teeth, and they actually worked with Monty Ohms. Surprisingly enough, for people that don't know this, Viz Media was one of the first distributors that actually worked with Monty Ohm to start doing mangas for Monty and RWBY, as a manga distributor. So they are very much aware of the franchise. Okay, they're not just someone who's just buying this and don't know next to nothing about RWBY. They actually they understand the universe. So, and maybe not 100% of it, but they do understand the concept of the show because they worked with the original owner, or they worked with the original creator before he unfortunately passed away. So they understand what they're getting into. when they bought this franchise. Okay, they're not just some, schmuck company that has no idea what RWBY is, and they're just like buying it because they know they can make the most money out of it. Not saying Viz doesn't want to make the most money out of it, but obviously everybody wants to do that. But they actually have an idea of what the show is about. Okay, where another company that may have bought it might not know that. Okay, so they understand the concepts. They understand, obviously, where fans are, what the vocal fans are like, what the casual fans are like. They understand that. They'll understand that. But what are they going to do with the franchise exactly? In terms of continuing the series, rebooting the series, spin-offs. Obviously, they're going to have new manga releases of the show because, as I said earlier in this video, obviously their main bread and butter is manga distributions, and obviously, since they straight up own RWBY now, they don't have to do contracts and stuff like that because they are the people that license it out now. They are not getting a license from Rooster Teeth like they did back in the day. They directly own it now. So they would be licensing it out to other companies, but obviously they're not going to do that for mangas anymore because they do that themselves. So now they can directly make mangas for RWBY themselves and get 100% of the profits because they are the owners of it now. So I do expect more stories, whether they be spinoffs or, they already kind of did prequels. So maybe things that happen in between seasons or what have you. I expect them to do a lot of that stuff. I wouldn't be surprised if they also release a new video game of it. And in the future, because obviously the video games is probably where the big thing is for a franchise like this. Grim Eclipse was the first video game which was actually done by a fan originally, and obviously that game had a lot of promise, but it died quicker than a sack of potatoes because unfortunately Rooster Teeth didn't know what the hell they were doing. And still to this day, that game is like available to play, but nobody gives a shit about it anymore because they just left it dormant for years. They released DLCs here and there during its peak, and then they just forgot about it. I kind of low-key wish Viz Media would actually try to take that game and maybe do something with it. Because it's still there. But I don't know if the save files are available or the data for those games are still available since, Rooster Teeth developed them. I know that was developed by the fan. The fan who originally did it was the one who was involved with it and worked directly for Rooster Teeth for that game. So I don't exactly know if that game could still be available to rework on by Viz Media. But I think it'd be kind of cool if they would, because I do think that game had a lot of potential, and they just really didn't fucking do anything with it. Even going so far, maybe make a sequel of that game in the future. But again, that's just coming up with possible other things. And then now we haven't even gotten into the show itself, as I mentioned earlier. What do they do with the mainline show, RWBY, which is what everybody wants to know. What are they going to do? So, as we all know, they haven't, the final season, as of right now, Volume 9 was the final season, and it aired 2 years ago. It was only 10 episodes, very short compared to their previous seasons. A couple episodes short of of what their normal episode count is. Obviously, the quality was down because of we found out after that season ended, not too long afterwards, that they filed for bankruptcy. Rooster Teeth did. So, excuse me. So what do I think? So there's a couple things here, because there's a couple different routes they can go. Okay, there's a couple routes they can go with this. Okay, because a lot of fans, including myself personally, okay, this is actually, I kind of agree with this one. And this is the first one. And that is reboot the series. Now, I don't think they should just reboot the series 100%, and that's kind of where the divide is on this reboot theory. My personal take on this is they need to reboot the series at the end of season 3. So season 1, 2, and 3 are still canon, or volume 1, 2, and 3 are still canon, and then every volume onward are no longer canon. So volume 4 is no longer canon, and then onward, because that's where all the bullshit started. And it's unfortunate because that is, of course, as we all know, when Monty Ohms was no longer with us anymore. Season 3, Monty unfortunately passed away pretty much during the time they were finishing up season 3. They were pretty much already done in production with season 3. Pretty much most of the stuff in season 3, Monty Ohms, he was involved with all those decisions that were being done in season 3. Yes, there were probably some stuff that they had to reshape at the end of the season because Monty passed away towards the end of production of season 3, when they were in pre-production, I believe, if I'm remembering this correctly. So season 3, even though he was no longer with us by the time it got on YouTube and the Rooster Teeth website, when it aired, that was heavily stampered with Monty Ohm all over it. Okay? But after Monty passed away, the bleak of the future seasons and the future volumes, were very bleak, especially at the time. I do remember that a lot of people were concerned at the time. And I, at the time, actually was not concerned because I thought, okay, there were still a lot of other people involved that worked with Monty and knew his vision. So I thought, okay, I think they're going to get this right. And of course, I was wrong. Looking back on that, I wish I would have seen it, but I didn't. Season 4 was a crapshoot. They were just walking most of the time. Season 5 was okay. It was probably the best post-Monty Ohm season that they had done. But everything else after that was just not very well done, quite frankly. The writing was all over the place. It was wacky. And I'm not a writer, but you don't really have to be a writer to really determine how bad some of this stuff was. Okay, that they were doing. It just slow pace, nothing really going right. So that's kind of where my stance is. Now, there are other people I've seen other people saying that they want to just completely restart it. And I'm like, nah, we don't want to completely restart it. We want to go, or I at least want to, and I know other people do too. We want to do it after season 3 and just start fresh from there. Now, that being said, what is the likeliness of RWBY being rebooted? To rebooting altogether or rebooting, season 4 onward? Honestly, I think the chances are slim. because there's so much stuff out there. Um, and it just, they've done so much work on it now. It's like, why would you be like, oh yeah, we're gonna do it this way now? Why? Oh, you were gonna go back. We're gonna go back in time and redo all this again, so it's better. Why would you do that? It just seems like, well, you just basically wasted like what, 8 years of our time, and now we're just doing it over again. I can't see them doing that. The more likely thing that's gonna happen the more likely thing that's gonna happen is Viz Media is just gonna do a volume 10 with now volume 10 actually might be better than any of the other seasons since season 3, because ever since season 3 none of the seasons have been really good in quality, and a lot of them have been just poorly done, with the exception, I would think, of season 5. But even season 5 had its problems too. Not saying that it didn't, but at least season 5 was doable. But that's probably the one saving thing about this situation is if they do a volume 10, maybe they can make it better. I don't know how you correct a lot of the problems. Because they would still have to deal with a lot of the problems from all the previous seasons, as well as the plot holes and the issues that just never made sense, especially with the Lord of RWBY itself. So there's going to be a lot of issues that they're going to have to deal with. So, and again, that's kind of where I kind of really wish like Viz kind of really puts their stamper on it and be like, this is what we're gonna do. This is what we're going to do. And because Viz is involved, we probably will get some newer voice casts around for, not for the main characters obviously, but I'm just saying for some of the newer characters or characters that are coming back that, for whatever reason, the current voice actors don't want to be involved. I'm not saying that voice actors are, I'm not saying any of the RWBY voice acting cast is going to do that, but I do know that there have been voice actors that have stepped down in later seasons for RWBY. Most of them are not mainstay characters, so a lot of people might have not noticed, but it has happened. Again, don't know if that happens in under Viz Media, but I'm just saying that is a possibility. So that's kind of where I think it is. I just don't know, and it's still too early to tell because I just don't exactly know. Like, Viz really hasn't come out really with anything, and I don't think any of the voice actors or any of the people, that used to be involved with, like, when Rooster Teeth was in charge, have really said anything. Not that I think they can, because obviously NDAs are obviously applied to it. But for anybody who doesn't know, that means non-disclosure agreement, because that is what voice actors have to do, especially in a project like this. They can't say anything, basically. So there's a lot of things that the RWBY, and again, maybe they could fix it. I don't know. Maybe season 10 under Viz Media, maybe they can fix like the past like 8 volumes of, or no, the past like what, 6 volumes? 6 volumes, sorry. The past 6 volumes of RWBY. Maybe they can finally fix it with volume 10 under Viz Media. You might have better writers involved, better creative minds involved, possibly. Who knows? Um, but I just think even if you put like some better writers involved to try and fix these problems from the past 6 volumes, it's still going to be an issue because they have to now try to write around things that have been already established from these seasons that are big issues and problems. And it might just be very too hard to do. And that's why I kind of just, like I said, I really hope they soft reboot it where we get, new volume 4 onward, basically, where they can kind of rewrite everything, make the seasons better. And again, with Viz Media's resources, obviously you could probably have a 24 episode, basically. I mean, I don't know what Viz Media's budget will be, but obviously, since they have done dub animes, obviously they didn't directly do them, but obviously they commissioned people to do it. And since they directly own the show and have to do the animation as well, I could see them, putting out like 24 episodes, rather than the normal 12 or 13 episodes that RWBY was putting out at the time, which obviously, they were using Maya to do their show, which usually the runtime wasn't as long as a typical anime episode would be. So I think there could be a lot of changes in that aspect, where you could kind of probably do volume 4 and volume 5 like in one season and do it a lot better. And then that's the same thing for 6 and 7 and 8 and 9. You can cover those all in one season if you do 24 episodes, especially with Viz Media's resources, compared to the resources of Rooster Teeth. Which obviously Rooster Teeth's business model was completely different. They were doing original content, which wasn't just RWBY. Even though RWBY was their biggest cash cow, they dwindled the franchise. And again, like I said earlier, I think there were a lot of missed opportunities Rooster Teeth did. I don't think Rooster Teeth did enough with RWBY, to be completely honest with you. I mean, yeah, they put out some stuff here and there, but they weren't, to me, as, big on getting RWBY bigger than they absolutely need to. Like, I think, like you said, the video game issue with Eclipse, RWBY Eclipse, I feel like that game could have been developed much better than Rooster Teeth allowed it to be. I feel like under Viz Media, they would actually have done it a lot better. Putting out more games, maybe get a Fortnite deal. Viz Media could license these characters out to out to Fortnite. That would put RWBY more into popularity. I mean, hell, the freaking Fortnite has brought in anime characters that aren't even that popular. Okay, there was that one anime show that's on Fortnite that I never even heard of them, and they're on there. So, like, freaking, like, RWBY, getting licensed to Fortnite or, anything. And I feel like there's so many opportunities. I feel like Viz Media, especially since we knew the structure of Rooster Teeth now, with obviously there were a lot of bad controversy. You can just look it up. All the terrible controversies that Rooster Teeth had towards the end of their bankruptcy or before their bankruptcy. There were a lot of problems with the company itself. It was a very damaged brand. So that's probably one of the biggest reasons to why RWBY never got as big as it could have been. I'm not saying that RWBY wasn't that big, but I'm saying I feel like RWBY could have been a bigger deal that it actually became. And that's just being on the real right now. Okay, that's just being on the real. Like the franchise didn't really go out of their way to really kind of expand past what they already had. They were just comfortable with what the brand was at, and that was probably one of their biggest downfalls with RWBY. And I feel like Viz Media will definitely be better in that aspect of getting that out. Now, I'm not trying to get people's hopes up too for people that think that RWBY's going to be in Fortnite or anything like that in the future, but I'm just saying it would make sense because that would be one way to kind of get exposure to RWBY, is to get a Fortnite deal with Fortnite, or licensing it out to Fortnite, or licensing out to other games. Like I said, there's a couple crossover games that RWBY was in, but I don't think they did enough with that. Rooster Teeth did not do enough with kind of trying to branch out their anime characters. Now, I know Ruby Rose was originally supposed to be in Multiverses, which unfortunately it didn't happen because Multiverses failed as a game, unfortunately. But those things definitely could have helped RWBY, and that was kind of when, Warner Brothers owned Rooster Teeth at the time. But these are things that could help the brand at the time that they really, really needed. And I kind of hope they do it. I hope they do it at some point. You know what I'm saying? I hope they get something that. But that's kind of where this video is going to conclude, and I'm going to just end it off here. And maybe another video in the future. I'll probably be doing some other discussions for other franchises that are coming up. But let me know what you guys think, guys. Do you agree? Do you disagree? Let me know what you guys think. What are your theories on what Viz Media can do with RWBY? And where do you stand on what they're going to do with the main series? Let me know. Comment, rate, if you like this video, my videos, please subscribe. Hit the notification bell for the latest contents. Thank you. And that is about it. That is about it, guys. I am the SS Ultimate Goku. And I'm out of here. Peace. Also, make sure besides my YouTube channel to follow me on the Twitch, the Instagram, Discord, link in the description, where we discuss various topics, including this one in this very video here. So make sure to check this out. And now I'm out, guys. Peace.